Right now on Full Custom Garage, Master Metalman Ian Roussel takes on a Lead Sled challenge.
A while back, I had this crazy idea. I wanted to take this old Packard and convert it into a lead sled for my friend Tom.
Oh, man.
It came out pretty cool, and then Victor saw it.
I said, hey, Ian, you think Tom will ever sell the car? And he said, you kidding?
But with a little wheeling and dealing, Victor made it happen.
Surprise, I got the Packard. I don't want to change that much, but I want to change everything.
Victor comes in and just wipes the slate clean.
You've chopped the car.
Right.
To me, that's baby stuff.
As the guys get into it, things don't go as planned.
Sometimes building a custom car isn't pretty, not in the beginning stages.
Ian, my car, what the heck you do to my car?
We're on to a new adventure. You know where it's going. Full custom, baby. Victor wanted me to come over, some kind of consultation. I'm walking down the driveway, and the Packard's already there.
Surprise.
Yeah, right. It's been a while since I saw this car. How'd you pry this out of Tom's hands?
I said, hey, Tom, you want to sell it? No. And just like everything else, I made him an offer he couldn't refuse. When I first seen the Packard, I said, hey, that's a Packard? This thing could look just as nice as any Merc.
So the whole thing with this car is I thought it was a great-looking vehicle. I mean, what do you want to do with it?
I don't know. I just got the car. My goal is to let it compete with a Mercury. This, I want to be the new Lead Sled, so that's a Merc eater right there. If it's done right, we could give the Merc a run for its money all day long.
First sentence in the conversation, Victor says, this is going to be the Merc killer. I'm thinking about his last Merc we did, and he cut the roof off it. And I'm like, oh, man, we're not cutting the roof off of this Packard. Whatever you're thinking, all I ask is don't mess with the roof line. That's my favorite. That's my pride in the whole project.
Yeah, no, I love the way the chop came out. It's perfect. The rest of the lines, we could do a minor adjustment on it.
I've seen your minor adjustments before.
Well, you know that, but it's got to be crazy.
Victor and I have built a lot of cars together. He likes to go from top to bottom with all his builds, so who knows what could happen with this one. You know, I'm into the crazy stuff, man. I always thought we could go way further with this, and the chop was a good starting point.
The whole drivetrain has to be replaced to something modern, right. So yeah. Let's see what we could come up with, you know, kick it around.
Victor's kind of vague. All I'm getting out of him is that he wants this thing to be a driver like the rest of his fleet. They're all road-worthy vehicles, and that's where this Packard's lacking.
I want to have this thing on the freeway doing 70 miles an hour with no problem.
Sure.
So where do we start?
Most straightforward ways is just get maybe a mid-70s Camaro or GM front subframe. That gives you the disc brakes, the power steering, and the mounts for a V8 engine. From what I can see, to make this thing a perfect driver is just put a modern front suspension clip under the hood, put in a new engine, and this thing's a runner. It's good to see that this car is going to get taken one step further. It's a great-looking machine. I think whatever you add to it's really going to make a big difference.
I don't want to change that much, but I want to change everything, right? I mean, hey, if I can't utilize your abilities, you've chopped the car.
Right.
To me, that's baby stuff. We're going into full body remodification.
We're having a simple, or so I thought, simple conversation about putting a front clip under this thing, and then Victor's walking around the car. He's talking about adding this, doing that. Fortunately, he's not talking about the top, but he's talking about everything else.
We just want to bring out them bulges, and we want to bring out the lines, and we want to layer on the ground. Whenever I'm around Ian, the lights turn on, and all of this stuff comes out of my head on ideas. I mean, on the spot, it's like the switch is on.
So we're talking about this Packard, and he's saying Merc killer. It's got to be better than the Merc, yada, yada, yada. So he pulls out his black Merc, the Misfit. We built that a few years ago. It's a great-looking car. He's looking to take it out with the styling of this Packard.
I'll be darned if that doesn't look better than this, because you know every project we've done has always been over the top. I see the Packard being a Merc eater, and that people are going to be buying up Packards throughout the United States. So if you have any money, start buying Packards.
So all we need to do is make something look better than your Mercury. No problem. I spent a lot of time underneath that Merc. That's the thing. I know what's underneath the car, and it's really clean. It's a total freeway machine. There's 2 different classes in a car show. There's mild custom and full custom. That's what I do. This car left the shop as a mild custom. Somehow it found its way into Victor's hands, and you know where it's going. Full custom, baby. It's time to take it all the way. I'm totally into it. Let's do it. Victor's gonna come by today. He says he's got everything. He's got all the parts we need for the front suspension upgrade, and I'm just gonna work on getting this Packard ready for construction. This is like deja vu, like I'm viewing it all over again. It's amazing. The cool part about this project is the greasy, nasty part is done. Victor has a team of guys at his place, and they took out the engine and trans. He's got all the front sheet metal unbolted, and he's already talking about donor vehicles, so I think he's got everything pretty much sorted out. Pulling this nose apart, I know when it goes back together, it's not gonna be the same car. Victor has hinted at a few things. It's kind of an ugly nose on the car, so taking it off, just hopefully when it comes back together, it's way cooler.
Check it out, I got your clip. You wanted a front clip.
Oh yeah, perfect. What the heck is this thing?
1997 Grand Marquee. I know I went a little nuts
You think so?
instead of just cutting the clip off.
Right.
I cut the rest of the car off.
Yeah. You forgot to tell him to stop cutting. That's the problem. Kind of surprised that he drove this thing over, all in all, but you could see it's a driving vehicle.
I mean, the thing runs bitchin', the horn works, and you gotta take this thing for a drive. It's so smooth.
I'm trying to laugh it off, like, all right, yeah, I can't wait to cut this thing apart. And Victor's like, no, man, you gotta drive it. This car is smooth.
Not bad, huh?
I think it's a good contender, man.
Well, shit, he had more fun than I did. He was in the parking lot burning out and having a blast.
Just like any used car salesman, the test drive seals the deal. I kicked the tires, I did some burnouts, a couple donuts. This car's a keeper.
When he came back, he said, yeah, that's gonna work. But little does Ian know, I have different plans. At first, when we were talking, I was thinking just the front clip.
Oh, sure, makes sense.
Then as I started taking it apart and drove it, I'm thinking the whole car, utilizing everything, even the pan, everything that's here, air conditioning, computer, motor, disc brakes. I mean, do you know how much time and money will save?
Now the story starts to flesh out. That's why you left the floors. You
That's
want to
why I
put the
left the
body
floor.
skin on this whole car. So Victor pulls the old switcheroo, you know? Oh, well, we're not actually going to cut this one apart. We're going to use the whole thing.
So the challenge is to put that body on this car. We want that to be a 1997 Grand Marquee
With a Packard
on a
suit
Packard.
The old Emperor's New Clothes trick. Bottom line is Victor wants to do a body swap. He wants to cut the top of the Packard body off of the floor pan and put it onto this floor pan from the Grand Marquee. You want to leave this dashboard and everything.
We're gonna leave the dashboard because we're gonna do the fiberglass coming down into it and
I
just
see.
modify what's existing. It's all gonna get reworked to 50s futuristic instrument panel. Don't ask me what that means, but it sounds damn good.
It's a great concept, but they're 2 way different cars. And I just want to put them side by side to see how it's going to line up. The wheelbase is definitely off. Did you even measure this? It looks like the proportions are pretty far off. What's the deal? You guys did some
I
preliminary?
my thumb, I looked at it like this and like this. No, I'm kidding. We got some measurement. Don't get me wrong, there's a couple inches here and there that need adjusting, but it's pretty close. It's really close.
I could see they're less than a foot apart. I know Victor is well thought through in all of his processes, but when we put them together, you can clearly see there's some issues. And I'm like, hey man, did you measure this? Did you take the time to really think this through?
I said, well, kind of. And you know me, I'm always ambitious. You know what? My thing is, I just see with my eyes. Mechanical stuff, I don't give a shit about you. That's your issue. My thing is that this to go onto that. How? I don't know. That's why I
Perfect.
brought it here.
I see. Probably my greatest fault to date is to tell you, you know what? No problem. We could do this, no sweat. Victor was just saying, this is gonna happen. He thought about it enough to know that I could pull it off. I guess that's all he needs. Another walk in the park, as usual. You said this was gonna be an easy one.
For step one, if we achieve this, wait until you see what's coming next.
Perfect. It looks like it's gonna be close. Victor left it up to me, and the only way to tell is to cut it all apart. So you think about cutting a car, and it's pretty technical, but when I think about cutting a car, it's like taking the top off of a tin can, and that's exactly what we're doing here. You have this shape, and you have a lid. It doesn't even know it's a lid. We're gonna make it one and take it right off. Main thing I was excited about at the start of this project is a lot of the hard work is done. The whole demo of this Grand Marquee is done. Body's off, the Packard's pretty much stripped out. The big question is, will they fit together? Hey, that's my seat. Passenger side, thank you. Come on, let's take that car body off. Getting all this sheet metal separated was not that big a deal. So the harder part of it with the Packard is gonna be lifting this body so it doesn't distort. Just like everything else I do, simplest possible manner. I could have built a big structure and raised this thing. Instead, I stuck a forklift right through the window openings. This is called the old rag and welding glove trick. Added it so it wouldn't ruin the window channels and lifted it right up. That there is the symbol of a nice, strong chop top, nothing deformed. The guy who built this knew what he was doing. Well, that being said, that sucker is out that door forever. Away with you. Pretty simple, lift up that body and get rid of the trash. We got something better coming in. Done all you could up until this point, but it just wasn't good enough. I think the biggest challenge here is about 50 years difference in technology. You got two giant metal shapes from completely different generations. That's the challenge. It's like stacking blocks. I'm gonna put this car on that car and see where they clash. Oh yeah, and that's how the tires are supposed to sit. The back laid down perfect. The best thing I was satisfied with was how this car just kind of bottomed out. No scratchy noises, no weirdness. It just clunked right on the floor. The back looks perfect. This is exactly what Victor's looking for. That is a huge problem. The thing is, the back went in so perfectly, I was focusing on that to come around to the front of the car, and I could see the reason it's still up in the air. You got major issues in the A-pillar and the dashboard area. He wants to keep the dashboard stock, cut off as much as possible without affecting any more of the structure of the donor chassis. And I really need all of this in here. I already compromised the structure of one. I'm not gonna do it to both. What's happening is the Packard's a triangle coming up into the window areas, and the Grand Marquee is a box. It's parallel, straight up and down, versus triangle. As you bring it down, it ain't gonna work. Definitely hit a major snag in our grand scheme. Just as I'm trying to figure out my plan of attack, Victor walks in.
Hey, how you doing, man? You did it, huh?
I done did it. I have some bad news for you, though. Your call on this frame is perfect width-wise. Tires tuck. It still can go right to the ground.
Okay, good.
The issue I ran into is the dashboard and the wheelbase.
Ian pointed out to me, hey, the dash doesn't fit in the car. Off the record, and don't tape this, it wasn't gonna fit, and I knew it, but I had to challenge this guy. Everybody that I was talking about what I was doing with all my friends, and they said, that's not gonna work. I said, I know it's not, but Ian will make it work.
The whole problem here is not only the issue with the dashboard clearance, but it's also the wheelbase. Well, the wheelbase on the Packard is way out of line. You could see it's gonna need at least, say, a 10-inch stretch if you look at the center of that hub.
Okay.
So this is kind of what I was thinking. We could kill two birds with one stone. If we cut the chassis and extend it at, it looks like maybe a foot. In car terms, a foot extension is pretty significant. So check this out, this is what I'm thinking. So I think if we cut off right here, and we can just extend it. It's too generic, just like a ladder frame right there.
Simple.
But it would solve the issue with the wheelbase in the front fender and the dashboard. As long as you're cool with it, I'd like to cut that chassis and bring it forward.
Extend it out, let's go for it and see.
So I explained the fix for the front wheelbase and dashboard issue, and then further directed him to the rear, where I was really proud of how well it worked out.
I want this thing on the ground. Go underground, go an inch below surface, and then when we go up a half inch, there's no questions, it's on the ground.
Victor, you know, he's shaking his head no, because he says it's not low enough. He wants the thing down on the ground. So it's close, but it ain't there yet.
That thing gotta smash beer cans.
Okay. After the talk with Victor, it was affirmed that we needed to stretch the car a foot. This stretch is going to be very straightforward, simply because we're taking existing pieces and just moving them a little bit apart from each other. Look at that. You can make a limousine out of this thing if you wanted to. The way that they put these frames together from the factory, it's a series of metal shapes that are stacked, and then they're fillet welded all along the joins. I'm accomplishing the same thing with much heavier stock. I have my rectangle tube mimicking the shape of the original frame, and I'm stacking another piece on top of it, doing a fillet weld everywhere I can reach, then drilling through and plug welding the parts that extend past the original join in the frame extension. So it's a series of stacked metal shapes, all reinforcing each other. This thing is done. It's time to get the body on. Took a bit of doing, but I got the body on. I got it down low the way Victor was asking for. I had to change the tire and rim combo. The other ones were too wide. Right as I got him on, Victor shows up.
Hey, Ian, what's going on?
What's happening, man?
Where'd the white walls come from?
To get it to lay down, it needed some skinny, tall tires, so I just went with the 560/15 white walls.
That has a stance, you got it down low, it sits evenly. When I walk in, I look at the car, and he nailed it again. He surprised me. Any problem with clearance in the back?
Well, that's why I had to put the tires on, because those fat mag wheels were not letting it lay down. So I went with the skinny tires, it dropped right on the floor.
How about up front? It looks like you took care of all this stuff here.
Well, I had to do a lot of clearancing, and that's where the bad news starts. When you're looking at this car from the rear three-quarter view, it's sitting pretty. It's all good. The front end is a different story, and I gotta break the news. Let me show you how this fender lines up.
Okay.
It's close. In an effort to try to keep it as intact structurally as possible, I've just been picking away at it a couple inches at a time. And then the front.
So what's stopping it from hitting that? Is it this corner?
As you see here, it's the headlight bucket is right on that bolt.
Okay, with this here, the solution, we're changing that anyway. That's all gonna get cut off, and this will sit up a few inches here where it actually comes up. It's going from here up and back down to flow.
Right off the bat, Victor shows me the headlights he's planning on using, and they're a completely different orientation as the Packard units.
And at the same time, we're coming off this level, and then we're coming here and up a little, and then back down. So it's got an enhancement.
Victor comes in and just wipes the slate clean. He wants to restyle the entire front fender. In fact, the entire nose of the car, as it turns out. So if you're willing to just delete the front of both fenders, then it's a perfect lineup. We'll just build around the underlying structure. It's a 10-minute cut. I'll do that, and we can get this hood and fenders on.
Awesome, I'm there, let's do it.
I'm just going to eliminate everything that's in the way. I'm going to leave a small area representing the front where it meets the hood, and that's kind of it. The whole headlight and grille area is out of the fender. Well, now you can see you have plenty of clearance. That changes everything. It eliminates the ugly in the front of the Packard, and it helps me mount the fenders without an issue with the headlights at all. Hey, look, it fits. That's going to be all right.
Damn, look at that thing. That's one long-ass front end.
There's a million ways you can go about restyling a car, and I know Victor's got a plan. He's been thinking about it for a while, and it's not gonna be okay to just mock something up and have him check it out. I need to nail a few of the core lines with him here so that we can get it right.
Probably a little bit more to your left. Yeah, the fender, the tire side. Before you do that, I want to do, like put something up so we got a little high point.
Just like an artist is drawing a line, we're gonna do that same thing. We gotta figure out how to suspend a nice graceful arc. First call is to try to just pull some tape across, and it looks terrible. It's all faceted, flat, straight lines.
Just up like a quarter, half an inch, and then back down.
Well, I have this round rod.
All right.
I got a pretty good idea on how materials work, so I got this 3/16 inch round rod, and I just hold that up on the same plane as the tape, and it just bows gracefully. Just the weight of it makes a perfect arch.
Yeah, that's it right there. Shit, that's it. After he put the rebar on, he handed me a piece of cardboard.
So, got the little envisioning board.
Yeah,
Try
well,
that
check
out.
this out. Coming from this point, yeah, look at that. That's like perfect right there. So I get it, I fold it over gently so I got the contour of the car. I could literally see what I was thinking.
As soon as he expresses this upper fender ridge, I can see where he's going with this late 40s caddy styling. They have a very pronounced upward curve in the fender, and it's just a super deluxe look.
It flows right in, right off of this line to that line right there. I'm over here going, yeah, man, that's cool. Ian gets quiet again.
That design's great, but that's a lot of metalwork. You got 6 foot on one side, 6 more makes 12 by 3 foot. It's like 30 square feet plus of metalwork. I hope you know somebody who can pull that off.
Did I ever say it was gonna work or not? That's a question. He says, yeah, you're not the one cutting the car up. I go, yeah, that's why I come to you.
I don't want to say it's above my skill level, but I haven't tried this yet. I've cut up a lot of cars, changed a lot of stuff, but I've never done 2 fenders like this. Victor loves throwing down the gauntlet. All I gotta do is run it. I gotta run through all these tasks he's envisioning, and we're on to a new adventure. Here we go. I knew I could swap this body, no problem. These fenders he's talking about are pretty challenging. I gotta match that wire Victor set up on the fender, and a flat piece of sheet metal just ain't gonna work. It's easy to just piece together parts, but to create something from scratch is a whole different skill set, and that's what he's asking me to do. It needs to look kind of like the shape of a potato chip, if you can envision it. It's going to curve this way, and it's going to curve that way. Something for eating salsa. Got to start somewhere, and I'm thinking that the main line of the fender is exactly what Victor created with this round rod mock-up. So I'm going to try to create the biggest piece I can with the tools I got. The first step is to shrink it along each side of the sheet and curve it. Doesn't look like much has happened, but I'll tell you, those molecules are feeling the pressure. Hear that? It's tense. This is potentially a disaster. Victor's asking me for something he conceptualized with a piece of round rod and a lot of hand gestures. I don't have any blueprints, I don't have any sketches, I just have a conversation and I'm trying to build a car around that, so it could go either way. That's pretty darn close to what I need at this end, but you can see it's just a straight shot. So I got some stress in here, and I got some stress up here. And now we're gonna put it in that wheelie thing. Let's see what happens. The 2 tools I'm using are really the standards for any kind of metal forming. You need to shrink it or you need to stretch it. If you're ambitious, you could build a whole car out of this if you knew what you're doing. But don't give Victor any ideas. It's pretty labor intensive, and I'm not that ambitious. Coffee break. This piece is the backbone of the design, so anything can happen, but you need a center line, and that's what this is establishing. I don't know what Victor's thinking. I'm just trying to set up this line, this one line he established. Everything for me has been structural and alignment oriented, so this is the first bit of art. Having done this one curved section for the fender top, I think that's gonna be the same process all the way through. As soon as I figure out this backbone ridge top thing, it's on. So the whole thing with this is gonna be made in so many pieces. I'm just trying to hold it on the car. I'm just gonna start assembling parts. It's kind of like a puzzle that you're making the pieces out of. but I'll be able to take smaller sections for this reverse dip that he was talking about. In getting this fender line to look proper, I had to just trim back, and once I figured out a line that it's gonna join properly, the challenge is to get them to flow evenly. If you don't want it to look like a bunch of bricks on a wall, you want it to just look like a smooth, slippery surface. I never even receive an ounce of praise. I do this all day just to buy food. I even give you the bargain brand. This is an advanced mock-up. I mean, it might be a keeper, it might not, so I'm just trying to streamline it. I don't want to make it twice. I think this Fender's a keeper. The whole thing is if Victor thinks this Fender's a keeper.
Ian, how you doing?
Aha.
Damn, that flow's bitchin'. That's it, man.
The good thing is Victor walked in and right away you could see the gleam in his eye.
The difference from this side, stock just straight down like nothing, to come in here by just raising this up and giving it an arc here, it give the whole fender like it's on steroids. No steroids, steroids.
Right.
It's in proportion, it flows, and it's gonna eat a Merc.
Well, I was really stressing about the fender creation issue, but if you're happy with it, then the big challenge is what do we do about the grill? There's nothing going on there.
I brought you surprise, so come on out and I'll show you what my idea is.
All right, let's see what you got. Victor's got people. He's got people all around doing stuff. So he tells me he's got some of his guys dropped off a bunch of things in the driveway and I need to check it out.
I've been thinking about this for a while too, like I think about everything else in my mind. And he's looking at me now, what the heck this guy gonna come out with?
Whoa, a Mercury. What is that, 1950, just like your other ones?
1950 Mercury, it was another project. I figured I'd donate it to help you complete the front end on that other project.
Crazy, man, you could sell this for a grip. There's people who want this part all over the place. This thing's in perfect shape.
Yeah, no, perfect shape.
Everybody wants to know where this came from, and the backstory I get is one of his friends somewhere down the line tried to chop the car, customize it, and made all the wrong moves. So apparently what Victor has is a dilapidated, half-rotted, half-assembled Mercury four-door. Fortunately, the guy didn't cut the nose, and that's what we need.
Right here, we don't need the fenders. All I want is the opening in that grill. All the opening in that grill. Here's the original 1950 bumper, front, back.
This is freaking cool, man. I was just stuck on that fender side thinking, what are we gonna do about the center? I'm gonna have to make something just the same, but if you're not attached to this, I'll just cut it up right here and we'll drag it in the shop.
And he says, hey, Victor, you attached to this thing? I said, well, heck yeah, I'm attached to it. It's a 50 Merc front clip. I'm bringing you the front opening, the mouth. And he looks at me and says, I think I need a little bit more than the mouth. Doesn't matter if I'm attached or not, we gotta do it.
Okay, there you go.
Right, cool, let's do it.
As soon as I saw him give me the look, I knew it was on, and I rushed to the shop to get the tools. I'm ready to cut this thing.
He comes out with a grinder, and I'm going, wait a minute, you know, shit, that's a $3,000 front end, and he starts cutting the hell out of it.
Sometimes building a custom car isn't pretty, not in the beginning stages. Everybody knew this had to happen, but going through the experience is somewhat traumatizing at times.
And I was tripping out. I was like, wow.
That finishes it, man. It's never going back to stock.
Ian, my car, what the heck you do to my car? And then I turn around and see Ian's dog. Dude.
He's concerned.
And even the dog goes, that's a 50 Merc you just cut up. Look at his face, he's saddened. Dude, sorry. You'll be okay, you're going to good use.
Let's take this Mercury inside and see what she's got.
The anticipation of bringing that front end up to the Packard, I was like, I gotta see this, I gotta see this. Here she comes. That's a trip, huh? putting this grill to it, it gives it like this masculine, like a bulldog, literally. Like maybe that's why the dog was tripping out. He probably thought it was his relative. Look at that, it's like,
I can see a clear path to victory. This nose piece is a game changer, but it's gonna take a little bit of doing though. I gotta trim out a lot on both cars to get this thing in position, but this nose thing takes it to the next level. Getting this Merc front end ready for the Packard. It's a rusty old car, it's been sitting around. I'm gonna clean as much of the rust off as possible just so I can start to get an idea of how this will fit on the car. Yeah, let's see. Yesterday this was way out. Now it's way in. See, the look is really good, the way it mates up to the fender, but it's way wide. It looks like this nose is gonna get sectioned into 3 or 4 pieces. The 2 headlight shells I think will mate to the fenders really well, and I'm just gonna cut it apart and fit it up on the car in pieces. See that? Right up to the headlight, mates into the fender, just perfecto. And we don't want it to look crooked or weird, so I'm gonna build a jig so that they're parallel and at the same orientation. So I can weld it right to the headlight bucket. I want them to both be at the same plane, and they'll still be parallel. The big thing is to just get these headlights positioned, and then I can hang the grille and move forward from there with the sheet metal. I have to build the whole passenger fender, which is an exact mirror of what I accomplished on the driver's side, and then I'm gonna sheet in around the headlights. Fenders are a sure thing. The big concern is this nose and the way the hood is gonna come into this grille shape. The Packard nose comes to such a point, if you continued it forward at that trajectory of the 2 sides, it would be like a little triangle shape. And we don't want that. We want it to have like a really pronounced hood. So Victor's got another Merc hood I'm gonna have to section in so that the front end's a little more bulbous. So this is the hood from the Merc. It came off of the same car. You can see it's in darn good shape. It looks terrible because it's completely rusty, but it's not cancer rust, it's just surface. It's almost a shame to cut this thing. Victor's got the resources, we're gonna cut it. Somebody will pay a freaking mint for this thing. The decision has already been made, it's out of my hands. Strangely enough, the one piece we're saving is the only place on the hood with a dent. There are a few things that I won't cut up, and this is right on the border. This is gonna be a tough one. Just made every other 49 Merc hood that much more valuable. That's all you gotta remember. What a shame. It would be way easier to just try to graft this little nose section on, but I want this ridge. And it'll actually be a much stronger join if I lap it to the Packard, so it'll be like a big diamond shape. That's why I'm completely ruining this hood, but it'll allow us some artistic window of opportunity. Oh, that actually don't look half bad. Sure switched up that ugly Packard. The Packard looked like a beak, a bird's beak. It was just way out and it's very thin. The Merc knew as a really wide, low car. And this really, it's a half and half. It's just, I can't believe it actually fit. Seeing that this Merc hood worked out was a relief. Now I just gotta figure out the lower portion. The cool factor about the Merc grille and the hood is it's got its factory latches in place. So by lowering this section, you'll see there's a structure in here that is designed to mate up against this. And since I need to lower this, I'm going to have to section it somewhere. So I'll section it right through the dent and then repair it, weld it back together. So it'll have a strip coming right through here. I've got a clear path to finish out this nose, and it's gonna be all right. Splicing these 2 hoods together was a pretty straightforward process in simple terms, but the contours on both sides are way different. So this is now our surface height of the hood. So it's coming through. You see how it's lifting towards the bottom? It's coming right through here like so, till it blends in. So this transition here is gonna be very hard to make. It's another compound curve, but right where that wants to change, I was thinking if I put a scoop in there, like you see on the Mercs, then all of a sudden the contour wouldn't need to be made. It would turn into a scoop. I don't know where the idea first came from for these scoops in the side of the Merc hood, but you see it all the time. It's a really cool thing. It breaks up the side profile of the hood a little bit. And because we have a mismatch in contour, I think it might just be the perfect fix. A little action in it. See what we come up with now like this. Actually, that don't even look half bad. But it definitely handles that weird mismatch for sure. My first inclination was to put the scoop forward. Maybe not that forward, but somewhere between here and here. I know Victor likes that classic element though. I got a few ideas to make this happen. I just got to sell Victor on the idea. I'm working on getting the bottom corners of the hood rounded. You see that all the time on custom Mercs. And I'm gonna mock up this side profile that just may incorporate a scoop. I gotta show it to Victor. So this is now the new shape of the hood opening, and I'll finish off the shape of the fender surround with the smaller rod. So this will be a nice radius hood edge. You see it on a lot of customs. Victor's got it like that.
Ian, what's going on?
Hey, man. Just kind of getting this hood together.
Oh yeah, what a difference, man. I haven't seen the car in a while. I came by today and that thing looks crazy. It follows the rest of the curves on the car. Curve, 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 curve. The more stuff I give them, the guy still continues to like go beyond my expectation on everything I have them do for me. Cool. That's real good. So what are we gonna do now on the hood here?
Well, that's the thing, you know, the transition from the Merc to the Packard is a little weird. But once Victor digested the look of the front of the car, he was really pleased with it, but then I tell him about the problem, and that is in the side contour of the hood. I want to show him the mock-up for the side panels and see what he thinks about this scoop idea. You know, I'm glad that the front worked out for you. I kind of just did that because I know you like the look of the other car, but the placement of the scoop is something I've been struggling with, whether it goes ahead of the axle line or behind.
Yeah,
so.
Looking at it in proportion wise, I think it should be not quite half, just a little forward here. Let me see.
Yeah,
Wow.
just whatever you like.
Coming in, and it shouldn't really be that drastic. So that's kind of the opening. And then from here, I mean, I'm just gonna draw it. It kind of ends in no more than a 1/4 inch, just to come in, just so there's the scoop line there.
Victor loved the idea. It was really just about placement. He wants it in proportion with the hood. He came up with a solution, and I was feeling really good about it, but Victor had other ideas.
The modification isn't over yet, so don't do this until the bird sings.
I just licked it, man. Game
I was gonna
over.
say till the fat man sings, but
Yeah.
I can't sing with the shit. I still got some tricks up my sleeve, which I haven't even told Ian about yet. The modification isn't over yet.
Okay.
I really want to get this thing to my house and just to like see it every night so I could kind of feel it and I want to look at it. Something, you know, once it's there, you know me, there'll be a slight modification.
Right.
Next time on Full Custom Garage, Master Metalman Ian Roussel continues the Lead Sled Challenge.
The main thing I knew bringing the car over to Victor's was that his head was going to be spinning with ideas.
He looked at me and said, oh, that's a good idea, but I could see in his mind, I thought I was done.
I'm feeling like the world-class mountain climber that just summited Everest, and Victor's in the back of the car with like a whole new battle plan.
I want this sucker to bulge.
But Victor's surprises don't stop there.
I've been thinking about giving this car to Craig.
Okay.
The only thing is, his birthday's in a couple weeks.
With the pressure on, Ian's got a plan to pull it off.
There's nothing like hitting it when there's inspiration in the air. So I'm telling Victor, let's just cut it. You'll see what I'm talking about.
When he was talking to me, I didn't quite understand what he was trying to tell me.
Who cares how much effort it takes to get there?
Wow, that's right on.
It's the end result that counts.
Easy, Ian. I don't got insurance on it yet.
I think this is a keeper, man.
Yeah, no, look good, but hey, you didn't have your seat belts on.